Hey Blossom team, welcome to tonight's Zoom call. We are October 4th and tonight's theme is investing in yourself. On that note, I'm turning it over to Crystal.
Hey everybody. So on that topic, first of all, I'm going to tell you that we just decided it's probably going to be a 15-minute call tonight, but it will be short but sweet because investing in ourselves is definitely priority. Melissa and I did that today. I don't know what you guys have done recently to invest in yourself. It could be a bubble bath. It could be a walk. It could be going to visit puppies. I don't know what you do, but I would love if you guys share with us what you do because we always need ideas as to how to invest. So what we did today is we went to an event. It was called Power of the Purse. So I hadn't heard of this until recently. Someone told me about it. Actually, Teresa on the team, she suggested it. And I looked into it, and it's the 11th year here in London that Cynthia O'Neill, she's the founder, very inspirational person. Her daughter's a crown attorney. That turns out that I see her at court all the time. Anywho, long story short, lots of connections made today and lots of highlights. We're going to summarize some of those highlights and hopefully you gain something from it. It's a lot of stuff that you know already, but it's just really nice, important reminders, some of which Rod already touched on last Zoom call. So again, we're just gonna keep it short and sweet. And Melissa, do you want to start with the first presenter?
Sure. And when I don't know if you guys saw on Facebook, Crystal nominated me and I ended up getting a free ticket to attend. And at first I was like, Power of the Purse, like it's fundraising, or I wasn't sure. And it was all about the thing is that recognizing the power of women when they are in charge of an economy or how we drive the economy. But mostly it was professional development and personal growth. And we took so many notes and we were inspired all day. We're like, we're going to bring this back to the team. It's so good. So the first speaker was Dr. Maha Javanovic. She's not on the Zoom call.
We'll post her link below.
Yeah. So she's a wild, energetic person and is cool because she's like started off her thing and it was a picture of a dog pooing and she's like, we're going to talk about shit today. And I was like, yes, this is going to be good. So she was talking about how perfectionism is actually a paralysis for us. So it ends up stopping us from moving forward. And it's funny because Crystal, you had mentioned earlier how we always saw like in job interviews, right? Do you want to say that quickly?
Yeah, like I was saying to Melissa, you know, I could remember for myself, like, what do I say in an interview when they ask me, you know, is there anything about yourself you'd like to improve? And like the solid answer was, well, I'm a perfectionist, and kind of play it off like it's a bad thing, but you kind of think.
No, like a good thing, right?
Well, they're asking for a flaw, but you know, deep down, you know that they want you to present and do well at the job. So you're thinking a perfectionist is a good thing. Like, yes, you're definitely encouraged to say that you're a perfectionist.
Right.
However, like Melissa said, it's unhealthy. So I don't know that I was trying to achieve or trying to be a perfectionist. However, I know that for myself and probably for a lot of women out there, and we're mentioning women and I'll get to that, but when we receive an accomplishment or an award or somebody gives us a compliment, I know I have a difficult time and we talked about that today. Trish was there as well and Marcella from the team, and we're like, what do you say when someone tells you that they like something about yourself? Sometimes you like, I know for Carla's on right now, when mom makes us a really great meal, we say thank you. She'll be like, oh, well, it kind of overcooked it. You know, she doesn't say thank you. She just has to find something's wrong with it. So there's no perfect anything. Mm-hmm. And I know when the kids, when they're practicing something, I'll be like, what does practice make? And instead of saying perfect, they say practice makes better, right? So it's never perfect. So yeah, that was an important, solid point about perfectionism because
Oh, sorry, keep going.
No, it's okay, go ahead.
Oh, I liked how she said if someone tells you, oh, she's like, yeah, I'm a perfectionist. You say, oh my gosh, that's so awful. I hope you're getting help for that. Because she was saying, ultimately, you want to be a pluralist, or what was it? I lost my.
Oh, it's right. What's that word that we can't say?
I skipped ahead.
Oh, an optimalist.
An optimalist. So perfectionist is a straight line, A to B. An optimalist is wiggly and more realistic, and that's when you get more possibilities. But I kind of skipped ahead there, but that was
she talked about distractions, which is good, Melissa.
Okay, yeah, see? Optimal.
See, segue, because you're distracted. Yeah, so she did, right? That's what she was talking about. That's how the dog shit came up in the thing, because the husband was distracted, and that's why there's still shit on the lawn.
Yeah. So it's about how multitasking is actually, and studies prove this. We used to think multitasking was great, and it's actually, it costs us time. So we are not being productive when we are multitasking. Actually, it just feeds our addiction of being busy, and we tend to award importance to being busy as if it's a good thing. But you could be busy your whole life and not accomplish anything, whereas you could be productive and accomplish great things.
Yeah, exactly.
So she was giving us tips on what do successful people do. And one of those things is to schedule their distractions. So she told us and this means like social media. So she said that you want to book time in your day where like either it's morning and night, and she says don't get out of bed checking social media, because it's proven that 1 in 3 people get depressed by looking at Facebook, because you're comparing what others are doing to what you're not doing. So she says resist the urge of doing that first thing, and resist the urge of checking your social media when it's not scheduled in those 2 distraction times. And she said your productivity will skyrocket.
Mm-hmm. And your focus. So she called it deep work, which I thought was a great word for it, because I feel like, you know, how many hours in a day do you get deep work done? Really think about it. Like I'm trying to calculate off the top of my head, maybe 3 hours, and I work full-time job. I work this business. I'm with my children. So, I mean, maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit, but really deep work. I'm distracted for sure. I'm guilty of that. So I thought that was really valuable. Yeah, she talked about, are we going to go into saying no?
Or the app?
Just the app would be better, yeah.
So she talked about, there's this app, it's called Moment, and she said download the app. This is something she got her students to do in class, and it tracks like every time you press your home button, every time you go on social media. And she said that 68% of people underestimate how much time they spend on social media. And the norm in her classroom was, the average was 9 hours a day. And for heavy internet users, it was 11 hours a day. So, yeah. So when we're thinking, when you're like, okay, I don't have a lot of time to allocate to my Monat business, it's like, okay, it's interesting to know, are you using your time optimally, or are we just getting lost in comparing what other people are doing on Instagram and Facebook? And then you get off of that, and then you feel guilty, and then you're like, oh, I'm not doing enough. Oh, and then you start doing all the negative self-talk.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have realized we're part of a lot of groups, and that's all great, but at the same time we do things a little different, where we're not acknowledging people's ranks. You won't see that on our page. So that's one of the reasons, in case anybody was wondering. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what were the other good takebacks?
The say no, maybe.
Yeah.
That you mentioned.
So saying no more often. So when someone asks you to do something, what's your first instinct, right? So if it's to say yes, even though your body's saying no to you internally, the suggestion is that you take a moment and that you tell them that you need to just take a moment. Yeah, thanks for thinking of me, and I'd love to help out. I just have to check my schedule, or I just have to think about that for a little bit and I'll get back to you. No big deal, right? To just take a moment to think about if it's right for you. So when you're thinking about it and when you're assessing it, she's saying some things to think about is this my issue? So if it's somebody else's issue being thrown at you for you to be the problem solver, well, maybe it's not a good idea all the time to be that person, right? Think about, will I learn anything from this? Will I grow? Will this be fun or interesting? How much do I want to help? So from 1 to 5, and you're not allowed to pick number 3 because that's a neutral Canadian answer, right? So I thought that was good to not be impulsive about your answer and not overcommit yourself, so that eventually you get anxiety and have to lie and back out anyway, right? And so you feel defeated and like you let people down, and that you're not being honest with yourself, so people know you're not being honest with them ultimately, right? So.
Yeah. And she says, so she's the author, you might have heard this book, of The Magic of Not Giving a Fuck. So that's that same author, the same woman. And she always says, like, she used to just say, do you have the time, energy, or inclination? But now she she says, consider all the questions that Crystal just mentioned, because it's more than just that. It's, if you say yes, because we're all at a certain extent, and people have various degrees of this, we're people pleasers. When someone asks us something, we think, oh, if I say no, what is she going to think? And how is she going to get there? And what if, we think of all of that and we don't think, like, what do I want? Or what do I need? And if you're always the person that everyone goes to for help, who are you going to for support? Because if you're just constantly giving to all these different people, you will get exhausted. So you also need that rock person.
Mm-hmm. And clear boundaries, there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's teaching people, it's role modeling that. So if I have boundaries with my children, and maybe I'm having a moment and I need a moment, it's okay to tell them that I need that, right? So it's just clear boundaries that you want to role model with people you care about, or people that you're a mentor to, or people that you work with every day. So
yeah. And she said, prioritize the key people in your life you want to say yes to. So write them down so that when someone asks you a question, and it was hilarious because while she was saying buy yourself time, I was sitting next to Crystal, and our coworkers, like, she's like, oh, you guys have the car, can I get a ride after work? And I was like, oh, that's going to be complicated. And I was like, I'm not going to answer because I'm in training and I'm going to buy myself time. And I'm such a damn people pleaser. And I was like, how's she going to get home? She's pregnant. And I want to invest in this person because she's my direct coworker. And I offered to give her a ride. And wasn't it so complicated, Crystal, in the end?
I mean, we definitely simplified it, but it took us probably a good 40 minutes to figure out the solution to such a simple issue.
Yeah. And
we cared so much about what she would think. I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Yeah. It was cool.
Yeah. And in the end, she said, the best thing you could do for someone is not solve their problems, is to help them figure out a solution.
And you did.
Yeah. So I think, was that it for her talk? Oh, the negative self-talk.
Yeah, and saying yes. She says saying yes either brings you closer to or further away from your own goals. So you think about it that way, putting it in perspective, like, is this bringing me closer or further away from my own goals? Am I just being a decent person by doing this? I'm going to feel good by being a giver, contributing to community. That's all good, right? Just putting more thought into your answers and what you commit to. That's all. Yeah. So negative talk.
So
about failing.
Yeah, like she was saying, we sometimes our negative talk can take various forms, but one that I kind of saw parallels to Monat was, I don't know enough. So we're like, okay, guys, like we know that live videos are an amazing way to connect. There's a bunch of different ways, but that's a good way. And then, but the perfectionist in us think, oh, I can't get there in a straight line because I don't know enough. Meanwhile, if you're an optimalist, you're going to try it and it's okay to fail. I've done live videos where I actually had a product that was empty and it ended up being people's favorite live video because it was like, what are you going to do now? Because it's not perfect.
You were going to talk about when you put the shampoo in your eye.
Oh, yeah, that too, you know, you learn by doing mistakes and it's okay because you're human and we're not supposed to know everything about Monat or about business and all that. It's okay to sometimes take a little detour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome.
She also said, maybe you could talk about this, Crystal, that the difference, there's a study that shows there's a difference between men and women's reaction to failure.
Mm-hmm. So with women, not every woman, some of you on here, maybe you don't experience this, but a lot of us could relate to what was being said today is that if women fail, they'll be like, oh man, I failed. And they really like think about it, bring it into the next day, overanalyze, talk to it with their husband, with their friends, like trying to figure out, you know, why did I let myself fail and focus on that, where a man usually is able to just have a failure and be like, hey, John, you're doing so great. Like he still thinks it's great because it's all part of learning, right? Which is exactly what it is. So it's just information. Failing or having a moment where you weren't successful exactly the way you planned it out, that's just information. It's just teaching you about your next step or another solution. Mm-hmm. So that was good.
And in closing, I know she ended with, why not me? So she was talking about, she had just finished her PhD and was doing a placement at a hospital in Toronto, and she met the chief surgical doctor and he came out and he's like, oh, hi, Maya. And then she's like, okay, cool, but it's Dr. Maya, but that's okay. Like not saying anything, being polite. And he's like, I'm the leading doctor in this la 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 la, and I have a YouTube video and I have 3 books. And he was going all out with all his accomplishments, and she was like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing that he's leading with all of that, because women in general don't, because we're like, we always downplay ourselves or whatever. And so she's like, she decided, she's like, that stayed with me. So in her acknowledgments of her book, she wrote, I'd like to thank myself first because I had this idea and I followed through with it and I'm awesome. And then she's like, and then I thank my husband and my kids in there somewhere and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, she's definitely a cool character. Red hair, like really sparkly shirt, but was really inspiring. And we'll post the link, like Crystal said.
Yeah, we'll post. She has a lot of videos out there, and she's somebody good to watch. And she was mentioning, you know, it's good to have women in these power roles. We're talking a lot about women tonight, and boys, we love, like the guys on the team, we really, really appreciate you. It's just, it was the theme of this talk was about women not being viewed enough in those roles. So we have an idea about ourselves when we do accomplish stuff or we don't reach for the stars, because we're not even paid the same, right? So we're taught early on that we're different. And the Olympian that spoke next spoke about that as well. It was really good. I mean, we could go on and on and on, but the theme is back to the beginning, is really truly investing in yourself, whether it's going to something like this or simple thing like a bath, a pedicure, a glass of wine with your best friend. Yeah. And
I would just say, because we said we'd keep it short tonight, but and just to maybe on a closing note, unless anyone, obviously Carla and Ange, if you guys want to add anything or have seen inspiring stuff, we'd love to hear from you as well. And for anyone watching on the replay, just do #replay and leave us, like, we love when everyone shares with us, because we love hearing from everyone. Oh, sorry, two things. The Crown Attorney lawyer spoke to the millennials in the room. And she was saying, one, when you walk into an event like this or any other vendor show, you tell yourself, I belong here. Because no one has their shit together in that room. Everyone has some kind of insecurity. And if you tell yourself, I belong here, your whole energy, everything will be different, rather than starting at a meeting and then you have an idea and then you're like, this might be a crazy idea, or this might be stupid, or something else some people would say, I'm not an expert in this, but maybe. And she's like, no one cares about what follows through, because all they're focused on is the negative of what you just started off doing. So if you're doing a first Meet Monat or you're doing an event, you don't say, well, I just started with Monat, I don't really know what I'm doing. Or no, lead with, I belong here, I have a right to an opinion, I love these products, I am here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. She also talked about how to have conversations. It's so easy because everyone likes talking about themselves. So just ask questions when you network. It's so important because you never know what one person, what that opportunity can lead to. Like for Carla, when she's networking, because she's an actress, you never know what this conversation may lead to, an opportunity for an audition somewhere else. And then when later on, when you look back, you're like, wow, like that was 6 degrees of separation that I didn't even know, or this happened 2 years ago, who knew?
Yeah, many opportunities come from networking.
Yeah. And she said to follow up with them is definitely key. And then last, like Crystal mentioned, the trampolinist, she won bronze medal and 2 silver medals, or 3 silver medals, I forget.
And then a gold at Pan Am. We're gonna say yes.
Yeah, okay, we'll see. Okay, so she said her coach always said, you can't or you won't.
Right.
So when he'd want her to do a new trick, and she's like, oh, I can't do that. And he'd say, you can't or you won't, because it's totally different. One is, she said, one was based out of fear. Like, yeah, that's jumping so high. That's going to be, I'm scared of falling, of landing. But she knows that if she won't, she's limiting herself and giving up. Whereas if she tries and keeps practicing, like she said, you only see us at the Olympics, but you don't see the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into between those 4 years of training. So if I parallel that to what we're doing with this small business, consistency is key, but developing a habit isn't in 30 days, which is what I thought it was before. I learned today it's actually 66 days to a year. So don't be hard on yourself if you're like, I had a goal to be consistent, do a video a week, and I'm not getting it done. Be good to yourself. You will get there.
And I like that, Melissa, when you say I can't or I won't. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what, she was only 12 when she started doing the sport, and this amazing coach, put that into her head at a young age. And now I believe she'd be close to my age, but she was, saying that she still uses that in her mind frame now. It's a mindset, right? So it's really having a conversation with yourself and getting grounded as you're in a situation, just like saying no to someone or saying yes to someone or saying I can't to yourself. So what is that about? And really, really figuring it out. My daughter just showed up, so she loves these conversations.
Hi, so.
Hi. They're important ones, like I said a while ago, to role model, right? You don't know who's listening to your words, and we talked about the power of words today. So power of words to yourself, it starts there. And then if you believe that you belong in every single moment, then people will feel the same way. So it's not necessarily always about the product, right? It's just about bringing joy to your life.
Hey guys.
Hi, Ange.
How's it going? I just want to actually say something to that. How it's so important to like self-motivate as well, like always positive. Like if you motivate yourself negatively, like it's just downhill from there. You have to be positive, because whatever you like emit comes back to you, right? Like karma, like whatever you put out there, you're gonna get it back. So the more you're positive, I think more good comes to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm thinking about, like, you mean like waking up in the morning being like, oh, I have to do this today, or I get to do this today, right? There's a total difference in that, just that sentence that you're saying to yourself, right?
Yeah, even if it's just like, like t'es bonne, t'es belle, t'es capable, like,
Hey.
you know what I mean? Like, just like self-motivating. Like in the morning, there's like some of the most successful people in the world have that written on their mirror, like you can do this. You're like, you're good, you're beautiful, and I think that's really, really important, because it starts your day off good and you're like, you know what? Yeah, I am a good person. You know what I mean? And then since you're so positive, there's just everything around you is positive, I find, like it's not as dark as if you're like hating on yourself constantly, like, oh my god, I won't be able to do this, like this is gonna be so hard, like, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Like, reach out, like there's definitely somebody who knows what they're talking about. And for like Monet, like there's someone who brought you in, so there's someone to go to, right, Carla? Yeah, I should probably be giggling on the other side.
Sorry guys, I had my mute button.
So what was I thinking about that? I thought about so many things as you were saying that. What were you thinking, Melissa?
Was it the quote? I can't, if you say you can or you can't, you're right.
Oh yeah.
So
Yes.
the power of words, like if you're saying like, I got this is going to be a great day, it will. But like Ange said, if you're thinking, oh, like you're seeing the negative, you're going to see the negative all day, and you're going to attract the negative to you, because that's what you're seeing and emitting.
She said, "T'es bonne, t'es belle, t'es capable." Like,
yeah,
you're great.
Yeah, that's the little.
You're beautiful and you're capable, right?
Yeah.
But if we're waiting for other people to feed that to us, then we're empty. We're just waiting for someone else to fill our own cup. Why? Yeah, I like that. Do you start your day like that? Do you have those notes on your mirror?
No, but it's on my to-do list. No, but I think it's really important. Like I mind myself. Like when I'm driving, I'm like, I'll like plan for my day, and I'm like, like I got a new position too, so I'm trying to really map out my stuff properly, organize my stuff, because I want to excel and do well. So I definitely self-motivate on my way to work. Yeah.
That's so cool. I'm going to go write that on my mirror tonight. T'es bonne, t'es belle, t'es capable.
Yeah. No, the thing is, the real one is t'es belle, t'es bonne, t'es capable. That's
okay.
the belle first. It's like a little saying. Everyone says it.
Yeah.
But that's why I like the my little quote for Adventures with Ange is, she believed she could, so she did.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. As long as you believe in yourself, because you're the only person you got like till the end, right? Like, yeah, you have all your significant other and and kids for you, and like, yeah, but like, you have to be well with yourself, because if you're not well with yourself, you'll never be well with anybody else, and you'll never be, and you know what I mean? Like, you won't be. I'm searching for my word.
They're not well 100% of the time, just as we aren't. So if we're really feeding ourselves through a reflection of them. So let's say I'm looking at my husband all the time for compliments, or kind of, let's say he's having a bad day, which he's Melissa's brother, so it rarely happens. But let's say he's having an off day. I'm able to detach now from that and not internalize, oh, did I say something? It's not about me, right? So if you're so used to having someone else tell you t'es bonne, t'es belle, t'es capable, rather than you telling yourself that, then you're really impacted and affected by other people around you. When if you're just stable, solid, and confident, nothing affects you, because you're just that the whole day long. Mm-hmm. You need reminders because you're human, but it's a really great reminder. I'm glad you brought that up.
I think we had an amazing talk tonight, and it's all about investing in ourselves, whether that's through having a cup of tea before bed, about, you know, taking, like Crystal said, maybe a bubble bath. It's not about the bubbles or the bath. It's about connecting with yourself, to take a moment to just be with yourself and to be in the present moment. So when we're looking at the past, it's depression. When we look into the future, it's anxiety. So just be in the now, and to just be okay, because if you have faith that things will work out in the future, like there's a lot of stuff with my Monat business that I would want now, but I know that it's a continuous thing. And I have faith that with Blossom, with these mentorship calls and with this everyone's specialty coming in and watching Ange's lives, I learned tons, and all of that community really helps me believe and know that I have all the tools to get to where I want to be.
Great.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm eating at the same time, so I don't want to like chew in your guys' ear. I've been muting myself, but thank you. I really appreciate that.
I do too. I appreciate you guys. It's a good spot to end off, I think.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in. Press #replay. And again, we will be back Monday night for the French calls and every Thursday for the English calls. Vous êtes belle, vous êtes
Fun, vous êtes capable.
Yes, yes, that's amazing. Oh, that's great.
Please have a good night.
Good
Have a
night.
good night. Bye.